morning. Welcome back to the homestead. So glad you could join us. It's a little chilly this morning, about 45, kind of wet, muggy. Ground's really wet. But we got stuff to do today. So thanks for joining us. All right, it's time to add that electrical box to the electrical panel out on the property. That'll give us a place to plug in our Christmas decorations and just give us 4 extra places to plug in. Before you do any kind of work behind the electrical panel, you want to make sure you turn the breaker off, the main breaker. Here I'm just checking the system to make sure that it actually is off and all circuits are dead before I proceed. Now my plan is to take the Romex, run it down the existing conduit through this box and out the bottom. To do that, of course, I have to take the faceplate off and loosen up the electrical outlets and pull them out of the way. There's also a plug in the bottom that I'll have to remove so I can let the Romex pass all the way through the box. Feeding the Romex through this 1/2-inch flexible conduit is a little bit tricky, especially since I'm using a 10-2 Romex, a pretty heavy wire. So it takes quite a bit of effort to get it to feed all the way through, and I had to make sure that it fed to the back side of the existing Romex so that it would go through the box. Now that I've got it all the way through the box, I'm going to insert the new piece of flexible conduit onto the bottom, screw it into the box, and then I have to take the new box that's going to go beside the existing box, feed the Romex through it, and screw it onto the flexible conduit. It screws on both ends, so there's no way to screw it in place once the box is already mounted. Since there's going to be 2 double outlets in this one box, I'm going to wire the 2 outlets together before I hook them up to the Romex that's coming into the box that feeds the power to them. It's just easier to do on the outside than it is inside the box. Now that I have them wired together and hooked to the Romex in the box, I do have to run the ground wire. Now the ground wire from the Romex will connect to the box and then to the ground lugs on the 2 outlets. Now that I've got them all wired up, it's time to re-secure the outlets in the original box and the new box. Have to do that before I can slip the cover on. This is the point where I realized that I mounted the new box too close to the original box. So I have to pull the faceplate back off and then move the box over and put the plate back on. Now that I have the boxes mounted and ready to go, it's time to wire the new box up into the circuit panel. Now I'm giving it its own separate 20 amp breaker just for those 4 plugs. That way it'll be good and safe. Also, I do spend a great deal of time here because I like the wiring to be very neat and organized. It just looks better when you get in there, and it's easier to trace if you have to follow up for something later. All right, now that I've got it all wired up, I'm going to get my meter so that I can check it after I flip the breaker.
Well, I wired something wrong. I threw the breaker on and it popped. So let's see what I did. Do you see what I did? I wired the hot and the neutral together. Shame on me.
All I needed to do to fix it was move the lead from one side to the other. Then I just have to put it back together.
All right, let's try it again, shall we?
Just checking to make sure that I've got power at all the plug sockets, and I did.
All right, that does it for the power project. It's all buttoned up. Everything checks out. We got power everywhere we're supposed to. So we added another 20 amp breaker and another 4-gang box to plug into. So good news. That's great. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. We appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, the notification bell so when our next video comes out you'll be notified. Share it with a friend. God loves you. So do we. Bye-bye now.